Welcome to a new spooky review. This time around I'm going to have a look at the movie Prince of Darkness from John Carpenter. Now, Prince of Darkness is my all-time favorite movie, but it's not much of a stretch because John Carpenter is my all-time favorite director, and I pretty much love just about any movie he does. But Prince of Darkness just sort of really captures it in a way that some of the other stuff doesn't. And it's kind of appropriate that we're looking at this movie right now because his birthday's coming up in a little bit here, right in the middle of this month. So we will get underway and take a look at Prince of Darkness. Prince of Darkness was released in 1987, and John Carpenter considers it the second in what he calls his apocalyptic trilogy. The first was The Thing, and the second was In the Mouth of Madness. Those are both great movies, too. The Thing seems to get all the attention from movie fans, and the other two are largely forgotten films, which is kind of a shame because I think they're all great movies. I'll probably do something on In the Mouth of Madness maybe next week because John Carpenter's birthday is coming up again. So, but in any event, these three movies all do have an apocalyptic sort of tone to them and theme to them. But in any event, this one features a couple people who are really big names. Pleasence, for one, and you'll know him from Halloween and a ton of other things. And you got Jameson Parker, who plays one of the main characters, and he's probably the other biggest name in the movie. And then you got Alice Cooper. Yes, that Alice Cooper. He has a non-speaking role, but it's kind of an important role, and he does a really good job of it. Now, a couple of other people tend to be in a lot of Carpenter's movies. If you notice, if you watch a lot of his movies, he uses a lot of the same people. I mean, Pleasence obviously was in Halloween, and that was in one of his movies. But then you got Victor Wong, who was in Big Trouble in Little China. I think he might have been in a couple of other of Carpenter's movies. And Dennis Dunn is also in Big Trouble in Little China. And Peter Jason, if you see the guy's face and you're a fan of Carpenter, you know exactly who he is. He's in so many of John Carpenter's movies, so you'll definitely recognize him. In any event, that's the basics of the movie, and then next I'll talk about the basic the ideas of the movie and stuff, and then we'll pretty much wrap it up. Now, if there's a part of the movie that doesn't work quite as well, I would say that it's the opening scene that shows a priest dying and things like that. It's a little confusing, and it might even take a time or two to figure out the connection if you don't pay close enough attention to the movie. I almost think it was going for sort of a Exorcist kind of opening, perhaps, I don't know, but in any event, it's a little odd. Even watching it now, it just seems, I don't know, to come out of there with no explanation, and yeah, there's still an explanation later in the movie, don't get me wrong, it does tie in, but it's a little more subtle, and perhaps if you haven't really been paying that close of attention, you might miss it and not understand what that opening scene's about. Beyond that, though, the movie is interesting because it's sort of part science fiction, even though it's a horror movie, and it almost seems like it's supernatural horror. It's more cosmic horror than anything else, but it's also got the science fiction edge, which you don't really find out the science fiction edge until later. But in any event, the basic premise is there are a number of students who, well, no, we'll go back further. The basic premise is the Catholic Church approaches this physics professor, and he puts together a team of college students and goes into this old abandoned Catholic church to study something they've got in the basement, which is, the church thinks, the devil captured in a container and held there, only the container's starting to leak and they're worried that it's going to get out. And well, it's not precisely correct, but it's close. In any event, they think that they need to find out what it is and tell the world about it because it's going to get out, and they feel that it's because people are losing faith. And so this physics team, along with some engineering guys and whatever, start examining it, and the weird things start to happen. And there are some twists and turns in the plot that really are interesting, and there are some downright creepy scenes. For me, it's very Lovecraftian in a lot of ways, and that kind of makes it, adds to it. But just the whole mood and tone of the movie, which, like a lot of Carpenter movies, to me, one of the things is that it starts very small and slow and sort of gradually builds into something that is way beyond whatever you started with. I always call it sort of a snowball going down a hill approach. But, this movie really pulls that off well. Sure, it seems dated. There are some cheesy bits there. But in all, it's actually a great film as far as I'm concerned. You have to overlook a few things, but not really much. And it's just a strong movie with some really creepy stuff. You've got reanimation of bodies, and you've got all kinds of creepy stuff, sort of a mind control thing. There's a lot of levels and a lot of layers to the movie. And the more you see it, the more you'll catch different things. So that's probably why it's my favorite movie. It just sort of holds up to repeat viewings. Well, my favorite horror movie, let me rephrase that. But it does hold up very well to repeat viewings. I tend to watch it every fall. In closing, let me just say that Prince of Darkness is not a perfect horror film, but really what is, and particularly what from the older era is perfect. It's a product of its time in some ways. It can be considered to be a little lackluster at times and a little slow, but I think that almost... I don't know, I think that it's intentional, it seems to me, because you get more of a contrast to once everything goes crazy. It's a huge contrast from where you began, and that to me is one of the big charms of the movie, is that it feels sort of slow and, I don't know, a little like, why am I watching this? There's not a lot happening. And by the end, everything's going crazy. So I don't know, that's just sort of how I see it. But by all means, try to give it a chance. Don't listen to all the reviews. Don't even listen to my review. Form your own opinion. Reviews are always just another person's opinion, and everybody's going to see a movie in a different way, in their own unique way. So give the movie a chance. I think it's an incredible movie. A lot of other people don't agree, but you know what? It's certainly worth the time spent to watch it. You can't really go too wrong with John Carpenter anyway. Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web. Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.